Universalism is a liberal religious faith that carries no creed and welcomes all seekers. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We are guided by a set of principles and written sources that encompass the many ways we come to know and understand the world, the universe, and the divine. If you are a visitor and would like to be added to our mailing list, you can put your name and email address in the chat box area on Zoom. You can also give us your contact information by going to our website, uucatskills.org. Our principles are important to us at UU Catskills, and we live our values on a daily basis. We affirm that Black Lives Matter. We are a welcoming congregation for the LGBTQ community. We are a congregational affiliate of the Ulster Immigrant Defense Network. And we are an active voice in the effort to address climate change. On your screen, you will see that we have community circles here at UU Catskills that connect members with others that live in their local community. There are 9 circles in different areas who meet monthly in person or online through Zoom. If you would like to get in touch with the circle in your area, please contact the office administrator. If you would like to contact someone at UU Catskills, a contact list is shown on the screen. The board, minister, the caring team, membership, and office administrator. We encourage you to read our February newsletter that is distributed through our email list and is found on our website, uucatskills.org. Upcoming events for the month are in the newsletter. There are several this coming week. Sunday, the Grief Support group is at 7 p.m. Wednesday, the writing group meets at 5 p.m. Thursday, the first Thursday hangout with Reverend Bob is at 11 a.m. Thursday evening is Bedtime Story and More at 7 p.m. It's a peaceful, joyful time of connection. Children and youth of all ages are welcome. Friday, the Soul Matters group meets at 12 noon. And Saturday, Hudson Valley Folk Guild is at 7 p.m. hosting Takeout Music featuring Catherine Catabiani, Mary Evans, Geraldine Mason, and Kirk Lamb. There are a few announcements. The Climate Action Team has a fundraiser with True Earth. Please purchase environmental friendly products through True Earth using our fundraising link so UUCC will receive a percentage. See the newsletter for more details and the link to order. A popular product is the laundry detergent strips. Also, if you would like to donate laundry strips for Ulster Immigrant Defense Network collection instead of purchase, you can do so through the donate button on our website. And we have a big announcement for our congregation. We have received a grant for $20,000 from the Chalice Lighter program of the Central East region of the UUA. These funds will be used to purchase AV and lighting equipment for improving our hybrid services that are online through Zoom and in person at the sanctuary. Please read more about this grant in the February newsletter. Next Sunday, February 6th, Jenny Giddy will present a special Valentine's Day service. On Sundays, February 13th and the 20th, Reverend Bob will be in the pulpit. And on February 27th, Julio Torres will be back with us from London. Thank you to everyone who is assisting with today's service. Our hybrid services are made possible by our technical team. Bruce Wild, who is here at the sanctuary, provides for our live streaming from the pulpit. Our Zoom host this week is Tom Hackett, and our usher is Kristen Shara. After the service, please stay for our breakout rooms for a virtual coffee break. RE for our youth will be meeting in one of the rooms. And for our prelude this morning, with the accompaniment of Catherine Catabiani and remembering Kevin Archambault, I will sing No One Is Alone from Into the Woods by Stephen Sondheim.
Only me beside you, still you're not alone. No one is alone. Truly, no one is alone. Sometimes people leave you halfway through the wood. Others may deceive you. You decide what's good. You decide alone. But no one is alone. People make mistakes. Fathers, mothers, people make mistakes, holding to their own, thinking they're alone. Honor their mistakes. Everybody makes one another's terrible mistakes. Witches can be right, giants can be good. You decide what's right, you decide what's good. Just remember, someone is on your side, our side, someone else is not. While we're seeing our side, maybe we forgot they are not alone. No one is alone. Hard to see the light now. Just don't let it go. Things will come out right now. We can make it so. Someone is on your side. No one is alone.
Welcome. Good morning. Thank you. It's wonderful when you're 5 minutes into the service and you already know you're where you need to be this morning. What a wonderful prelude. Thank you. And wherever you are, wherever you join us from this morning, as Liz said, whatever frame of mind you're in this morning, whatever brings you to this community, gathered across our homes and wherever we are observing this service from, you are most welcome. As we do each Sunday, we light our chalice as a reminder of what brings us together and who we are in community. No one is alone. As Liz lights our chalice, I invite us to recite together our chalice lighting words. We light this chalice in grateful, loving community. Even in the darkest of times, may its flame light paths to courage, justice, and hope. And I also invite you to read the words of affirmation, which are printed on your screen, that we read each week about what we hope to accomplish with this hour spent in reflection and meaning-making together. Let's read it together. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love to all living beings. May we know once again that we are not isolated, but connected in wonder and joy to mystery and miracle in the universe, in this community, and in each other. This month's theme at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Catskills has been living with intention. Throughout all January, we've been talking about this theme. In this service, we were talking about the intention contained in the congregation itself, our history, our future, our ideals, and what it means to come together as a community of meaning-making. And I thought these words by the Reverend Dana Worsnop spoke very well to this. And I know these words take on an extra poignancy as we can only meet virtually together, and though hopefully soon we can meet both virtually and in person as we did before. Here is the reading by Dana Worsnop. Often people say they love coming to a place with so many like-minded people. I know just what they are getting at, and I know that they aren't getting it quite right. I don't want to be with a bunch of people who think just like me. I want to be in a beloved community where I don't have to think like everyone else to be loved, to be eligible for salvation. I want to be with people who value compassion, justice, love, and truth, though they have different thoughts and opinions about all sorts of things. I want to be with independent-minded people of good heart. I want to be with people who have many names and no name at all for God. I want to be with people who see in me goodness and dignity, who also see my failings and foibles, and who still love me. I want to be with people who feel their interconnection with all existence and let it guide their footfalls upon the earth. I want to be with people who see life as a paradox and don't always rush to resolve it. I want to be with people who are willing to walk the tightrope that is life and will hold my hand as I walk mine. I want to be with people who let church call them into a different way of being in the world. I want to be with people who support, encourage, and even challenge each other to higher and more ethical living. I want to be with people who inspire one another to follow the call of the Spirit. I want to be with people who covenant to be honest, engaged, and kind, who strive to keep their promises and hold me to the promises I make. I want to be with people who give of themselves, who share their hearts and minds and gifts. I want to be with people who know that human community is often warm and generous, sometimes challenging, and always a grand adventure. In short, I want to be with people like you. Words by Dana Worsnop, and here we are together. So now let's sing together from wherever we are, gathered across many screens and homes, gathered together. Hymn number 31, We Would Be One.
one in searching for that meaning which finds our hearts and points us on our way. As for we pledge ourselves in greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
Amen. So our story today is a story from the congregation, and actually I have something from our wonder box here today. That's what you do the honors for us. So this is. Now I didn't make this, but I know the woman who did. In fact, she passed away last year, Jean. So I keep her in my heart. This is why I keep this here. I think of Jean. But this is a story about how a congregation begins, and this is a story of our beginnings here at UU Catskills. And some of you may already know this, lots of this story. So I hope you don't mind. Some of the best stories are so told time and time again. But you see these buildings, and you wonder, where do they come from? Where do these places get started? And this isn't a story about a building, really, but it's a story about a congregation. And one of the people, many people, who created this congregation. And I know this story because of another person who helped create this congregation, Lynn Bernstein, who some of you may know. She's in Poughkeepsie. She sends her regards today. And she literally wrote the book about this other person that I'm going to speak about, the Reverend Anita Truman Pickett. And I'm sure I'm getting some stuff wrong about Reverend Anita Truman Pickett. I recommend the book to her because Lynn Bernstein is the world's foremost scholar on Reverend Pickett. And it's such a moving story, I thought I would share it here today. And she's only, Anita Pickett is just one of the many people who are involved in this congregation. Someone, I think, needs to write a book about Lynn Bernstein, but as nobody has yet, I'll speak about Reverend Pickett. But anyway, Anita Truman Pickett. Anita Truman was born in Cleveland in 1881, which is a long time ago, I believe. And she grew up in Cleveland and then grew up in Birmingham, England. Her family moved over there, where I lived for a time, actually. And then grew up in Brooklyn from when she was in elementary school. And school could be a bit difficult. She was teased. I don't know if you were ever teased, but she was teased both for her English accent and for her weight. So she found that people could be quite cruel, and that could have made her turn against life, but it didn't, in fact. And she gave the valedictory sermon, which means she was very, very clever. She was top of her class. And in Brooklyn Elementary School in 1896, the topic of her valedictory address was the responsibility of the rising generation. And she discovered she had a taste for public speaking, but more than that, she had a taste for higher ideals, for thinking about what life should really be all about. And when she finished her education, when she was about 16, her dad asked her to join him in his woodworking shop, but her mom insisted that she continue her education, and her mom worked at the woodworking shop instead. And so she continued her education, and Anita got involved in politics, speaking, even writing poems. They wrote poems in those days for candidates and for causes. And her candidate that she was most connected to, Henry George, who was somebody with a lot of people who was trying to make the world a better place and a fairer place, died suddenly the day before she was going to introduce him at an event, actually. So she and many others were bereft. But she spoke to the people after that happened, when everybody who was a supporter of Henry George gathered, and she told them not to lose hope, that it was important to keep trying, to keep doing things. And you're wondering what this has to do with the congregation, probably, but we'll get there. Perhaps that led to her reflecting on life. I'm sure it did, reflecting on life and meaning, religion and philosophy. And she began to develop her own ideas. And her ideas had many influences. They were influenced by Emerson, Edward Markham, the Hindu Vedanta thinker, Swami Abhaydananda, who she lectured with at the Summer Institute in Maine. But the ideas were very much her own. She used all of those ideas and soaked them up. She was an avid reader, and then she thought about what she really believed on her own, and she was very influential. Many people were moved by her sharing ideas. She married a man named Harold Pickett, and they honeymooned on his family farm in a lovely little town called Kingston. I don't know if you've heard of it, in New York. And both Harold and Anita were ordained as Unitarian ministers. And I'm afraid it shouldn't surprise us that Anita faced obstacles in her calling that Harold, her husband, did not. She was often referred to as the minister's wife rather than her proper title, as a minister herself. Even though she lectured and preached widely, Reverend Pickett found it hard to find steady work at a congregation who were presumably less inclined to hire a woman minister. But she weathered on. The couple had 3 children, so she had duties as a mother, as Harold had duties as a father in those times. And so life could often be very straining and very difficult. And this is long before coronavirus, but they had difficulties of their own in those days. And throughout the hard times, Anita repeated the phrase, "Ebb ocean of life, the flow will come." Say that again. Ebb ocean of life, the flow will come. So saying things will get better. Things do ebb and flow and ebb and flow. So now I'm getting to the part about the congregation. This congregation started in 1958. She would have been 76 or 77 then. It's hard to think about starting something when you're 76 and 77. But she started something then that's very much still around today. And so she helped inspire this congregation, and with many other very inspirational people, including Lynn Bernstein, she founded this congregation in 1958. And when she died, she contributed to this congregation. In 1960, she contributed her home in a bequest. You can still see her home, an old stone house nearby, to help this congregation. So even when she was 76 and 77, she still believed she could make a difference. And she actually made a difference that's carried on now, 63, 64 years after that day when she was 77 and had already been through a lot in life. So it shows you how much amazing this the commitment and love can carry on throughout, even after we're gone. So I'll close this story with and there's much more in Lynn's book, but I'll close this story. In the front of Anita's journal are these words that express her philosophy of life. She wrote, "I am a child of God. My immediate inheritance is divine. My immediate environment is spirit. I accept the world as my workshop, my heredity as my tools, my environment as the raw material from which to make my life a work of art that shall glorify God." So wrote the Reverend Anita Pickett, and we remember her today. So now we'll have a reading, and Liz Thomas will lead us in a reading, Where God Is by Kenny Wiley. And I know this reading uses God language, and I know we're not all theists in this congregation. But I chose it because Mr. Wiley gets so beautifully to the idea of the importance of community in a piece I'm sure you can appreciate, whatever our theological perspective. So.
Where God Is by Kenny Wiley. The first time my heart felt broken, I went to church. When my mom died, I went to church. When I failed a class, I went to church. When I failed a friend, I went to church. When I felt like I'd failed at life, I went to church. I didn't go asking for forgiveness. I didn't go asking for salvation. I went to a church, a Unitarian Universalist church, to be reminded through hugs from friends, awkward interactions with strangers, and inspired messages from leaders that no matter how down I feel, I still matter. I still have worth. My God says, whoever you are enough. Whomever you love, you are enough. Whatever your race or ethnicity, you are enough. Whatever your abilities, you are enough. Whatever your economic class, you are enough. Whatever your gender identity, you are enough. Whatever you do for a living, you are enough. If you don't have a job right now, you are enough. You are a human being, and so you are enough. My God says this when we come together, worship together, listen deeply to one another, and love one another. This, I believe, is the God of our faith. My minister in college started the prayer with the same words every Sunday. I don't remember most of it. I do recall that he used the phrase alone together. We experience life through our own lenses, yet we don't have to go it alone. I know too well that grieving the loss of a parent is a long, exhausting road. I also know that walking alongside a mourning friend can feel somehow even more taxing. Being there for others is plain hard. It can be tough to work up the courage to talk with a newcomer, yet I believe that it is in those public spaces that God, or the Spirit of life, truly resides. It may go against prevailing American individualism to say that we need other people. We like to believe that we can do everything on our own. I believe that the human spirit truly comes alive when we are challenged, prodded, and uplifted in community. In the days after my mom's death, I felt like hiding. Doing so would have been perfectly okay. I decided, though, to go to church. My friends went with me, and the community held me up, as well as my family. Being in community was harder than being alone, yet it was what I needed. I needed to sit in that sanctuary with my UU friends. I needed to sing those hymns and hear the voices of others. We don't have to go to service every Sunday, yet I do think that we need to show up somewhere to some community. I believe that living out our faith requires interaction beyond our own selves. I believe it calls for community. I believe that's where God is. Through covenant with others, we reach God. We know we are enough, and we are made better. We strengthen our souls and increase our capacity for love and understanding.
Reading by Kenny Wiley. Thank you for reading that. We now enter into a time of meditation and contemplation. We don't have spoken joys and concerns this Sunday. We will another Sunday. But if you have a joy or a sorrow or a concern that you'd want to share in the chat, it will be read and by the congregation, and we will hold you in our hearts. For our spoken meditation today, I thought we might draw on the wisdom of a great spiritual leader who passed a couple weeks ago, Thich Nhat Hanh from the Vietnamese Buddhist tradition, very influential to me and so many others. And this, he speaks about the practice of mindfulness, about being here now. I invite us to simply to be present, to be, in the words of that reading, to be enough as you are right now. And Thich Nhat Hanh has these sayings about when we breathe in and breathe out. So all you have to do for the next few minutes are breathe in and breathe out. And I will read the words of Thich Nhat Hanh, and Thich Nhat Hanh will read us through this time. So I invite you to center yourself where you are. Be as comfortable as you can be present in this moment. You are enough in this moment, and simply notice your breathing. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, I notice my in-breath has become deeper. Breathing out, I notice that my out-breath has become slower. Breathing in, I notice my in-breath has become deeper. Breathing out, I notice my out-breath has become slower. Breathing in, I notice my in-breath has become deeper. Breathing out, I notice that my out-breath has become slower. Breathing in, I calm myself. Breathing out, I feel at ease. Breathing in, I calm myself. Breathing out, I feel at ease. Breathing in, I calm myself. Breathing out, I feel at ease. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing out, I release. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing out, I release. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing out, I release. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment. Breathing out, I feel it is a wonderful moment. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment. Breathing out, I feel it is a wonderful moment. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment. Breathing out, I feel it is a wonderful moment. We send our love out to Leela Clark's nephew and also out to Betsy and to all those who are struggling and suffering this hour. Our love and prayers for healing and strength and comfort. I am honored to introduce the artist who is leading our offering, Diane Diashison, because she has also attended our UU 101 classes, and I'm very happy to say she is signing the book and officially joining our congregation today. So I know some of you may have already gotten a chance to know Diane. She's wonderful and we're delighted to welcome you, Diane. And we have Ellen Harrington, if we can work the technology, beaming in from her home from our membership committee to introduce her to you. Ellen, would you do the honors to introduce Diane officially and joyfully to this congregation?
Diane, can you hear me?
Recording in progress.
Diane was an active member of the Unitarian congregation in Rock Tavern for 20 years. She's currently pursuing her lifelong dream of becoming an interfaith minister at All Faiths Seminary in New York City. She lives in Port Ewan and enjoys traveling, hiking with her husky, and playing music. She's delighted in becoming a new member and very much looking forward to getting to know others in the congregation. Welcome, Diane.
Diane, welcome so much. We are so glad to have you with us. And as in signing our membership book this morning, we're really having a multitask here, Diane, I know. So if you come up here for a moment. Diane's offering gifts in the first Sunday that she's officially signing the thing, which is a wonderful example for us all. So as you've seen, there are some honored names in this book. All of them are honored names, in fact. And we joyfully welcome you to Unitarian Universalist congregation of the Catskills. Welcome.
Thank you.
And you have to imagine the cheering happening in many homes across the Kingston area. But we are delighted that you are joining your strength to ours. So now I will introduce our offering. Our offering each week is something that we do to continue and further the dreams of this congregation. And every week we also share the congregation with another organization to help, because our ministry goes far beyond these four walls. And in January, we're sharing as you can see on your screens, with River Keepers, which helps keep our Hudson River and all our waterways from environmental devastation, and helps keep it clean and going well. You can give in many different ways. You can text 833-643-0430 or send your check to UU Catskills or give online. So with that, the offering will be gratefully received and joyfully given. Thank you.
Loud are the bells of Norwich, and the people come and go. And here by the Tower of Julian I tell them what I know. All shall be well, I'm telling you. Let the winter come and go, and all shall be well again, I know. Ring for the yellow daffodil, the flower in the snow, and ring for the yellow daffodil and tell them what I know. All shall be well, telling you. Let the winter come and go, and all shall be well again, I know. Loud are the bells of Norwich, and the people come and go. And here by the Tower of Julian I tell them what I know. Ring out bells of Norwich, and let the winter come and go, and all shall be well again. All shall be well again. All shall be well again, I know.
Thank you, Diane. Anybody else need to hear that this morning? I know I did. Catherine, our choir is going to be off the hook when we get a choir. I'm looking forward to the newest incarnation of the UUCC choir. So I want to talk to you about congregation, about this congregation specifically. The founding of a congregation is a special kind of love story. Now, there are lots of stories about love. There's, lots of stories about romantic love, two people meeting and falling in love, and there's familial love as well, parents, children, grandchildren, etc. But a congregation, when a group of people create and sustain a community of meaning, a group of people alone together in this meaning-making space, that's a love story too. And you're never quite sure where the love is going to end up. You start out with 14 people sitting in a room together. It's that year in 1958. And then one day you have this group that has met for generations, meeting online. It wasn't even online in 1958. That has been meeting for 60 years, and the people have, in large part, changed to entirely new people, but the love is still very much there. Congregations are a remarkable love story. And what I want to do with this sermon is tell a little bit of the story of this congregation and talk about why it matters. I want to gear my telling of our history, and it's a very brief telling, primarily to newcomers who may have only been coming a little while and may be wondering just what they're getting into, just what this congregation is all about. Now, I'm a newcomer myself, having just come on board in September 2021, just 4 months ago, so I'll probably get some of the details of this history wrong. I freely admit that, and I apologize to longer-term members of the congregation. Feel free to correct me after the sermon, or if you want, you can even put a little footnote in the chat, a little edifying footnote. Why not? Use the technology. So you heard the story of how the Reverend Anita Truman Pickett was involved, encouraging the congregation, and also with the bequest of a house. But from the very beginning, the congregation was a group effort. And that's really important and really foundational to who we are. So many members have said to me when they joined, they were almost a little in awe, or maybe were a little in awe, at what an impressive group of people comprised our congregation. So many creative, spirited, generous-hearted, intelligent, brilliant people. That's not to say we're always easy people, with so many characters as well, but it's always been a congregation of great talent from many people, a congregation of multiple leaders. Speaking of leaders, one of the things that should definitely be noted about this congregation is it has been led primarily, first and foremost, by women. Now, there have been men participating in the congregation from the very beginning, and I don't want to discount that fact. But in what's still a very patriarchal world, to have this congregation that since 1958 has been primarily guided by women's leadership is something that should be noted and celebrated. This has been a place of women's empowerment and women's visionary expertise. There were 14 people at that first meeting of the congregation in 1958 in Saugerties. And as I said, one of those numbers, Lynn Bernstein, sends her regards today. And we, and I say we, I think we all can claim a heritage that's older than we are, right? So I say we, even though I've only been here 4 months, and you can say we. We were the Unitarian Fellowship of Ulster County first, before we became the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Catskills, which we still are today. We've been in a lot of different locations, meeting in the Governor Hotel in Kingston, and then in the YMCA. It's fun to stay there, I hear. In 1973, we purchased a former funeral home in Kingston and brought it back to new life, pardon the pun, as the home of this congregation. And a few years later, we moved to this location that I'm standing on now. It was first a farmhouse and a storage building, and if you've ever been here, as many of you have, you can see it's undergone expansion over the years with our sanctuary here and a few offices, as well as the farmhouse next door, where we have our religious education for children and families. But this congregation is much more than a building or buildings. We've always been a place of social justice, as I gather from conversations with brilliant people like Bobby Katz and Stan Goldstein. Stan and his wife Wanda Goldstein helped create a vital outreach to those coming back into society from prison here in Ulster County. Their booklet of resources, Coming Back to Ulster County, has been a source of hope to hundreds, perhaps thousands of individuals and organizations. We need to update it, speaking of which. But there are lots of ways this congregation is involved in the betterment of the world week after week. We've been involved in the environmental movement for decades now. And in 2021, quite recently, we decided to put special focus on 4 areas of social justice, which is why we mention them every week at the beginning of our service. These areas are racial justice, action on climate change, rights for immigrants, and justice for LGBTQIA people. We are doing some important work in these areas month after month, week after week. I'll talk a little more about our future as a justice-creating institution in a moment. But first, I want to say a word about ministers and ministry. And I didn't start with this because I don't think ministers should be the center of congregational activity. Because it is, as I say, many people who are involved in the work of a congregation. But for many years now, the congregation has employed a minister. And again, with a couple of exceptions, including myself, most of these ministers have been women, very capable women. You heard about Reverend Anita Truman Pickett, but after being lay-led for many years, and lay-led means led by people in the congregation without a minister, UU Catskills has had a minister for most years since 1983. The Reverend Nancy Bowen had a strong, well-regarded ministry here, and she was followed by the Reverend Dr. Linda Anderson, who was minister here for 19 years, a very long ministry by today's standards. Under Reverend Linda's tenure, the congregation grew significantly. Some of that growth happened by growth after the awful events of 9/11 and the wars following 9/11. People were looking for a spiritual home where they could come together to find meaning in a community that valued diversity, tolerance, and peace. And they found that community here. It's probably also true that during the 19 years of Dr. Anderson's ministry, the ministry of the congregation became a little centered around the person of the minister. This tends to happen in long pastorates. And it's not necessarily such a bad thing, but sometimes long ministries can be a tough act to follow. And after two shortish stints by two excellent ministers, the Reverend Jan Carlson Bull and the Reverend Dawn Sangri, this congregation was ably served by the Reverend Erica Barron from 2013 until 2019, so 6 or 7 years. And before me, our most recent ministry was the Reverend Dr. Leonisa Artizone. Reverend Dr. Artizone was here for 2 years, a ministry impacted, as everything was, by the COVID crisis. And in summer of 2021, she resigned and continues her work at Vassar College as visiting assistant professor of education. Now, when Reverend Leonisa started here, there was some hope she would be here for longer than 2 years. So there is genuine disappointment about the ministry not lasting as long as it might have. Things didn't work out as envisioned, and life happens, right? One misconception I want to clear up is I know that there have been some mutterings that UU Catskills has had a lot of ministers and therefore can't hold on to ministers. And the record doesn't really reflect that. You had one extremely long ministry. These days, a 19-year ministry is as rare as hen's teeth. And one ministry in the wonderful person of Reverend Erica Barron of 6 years. And 6 years is fairly typical for a ministry. So you've had a pretty good run with ministers, actually. And so then I want to say a little bit about myself. You know, I always love to talk about myself and my role here. And I said this would be a brief history of the congregation, Reverend Bob, and the universe, but I already shared a little of my history in the first sermon together. I grew up in Connecticut. I've been in ministry about 15 years. First 8 years at a congregation in New Jersey, followed by 6 years serving 3 congregations in Northwest England. I've had summer, intern, and consulting ministries along the way in New Jersey, Connecticut, Arizona, and in the English version of the UUA, and I've preached at probably over 40 congregations and numerous other special gatherings in the US and England. So when I say this is a lovely congregation that you have here at the Catskills, I have a lot of basis for comparison, and I really mean it. I am only here 2 years. I am the half-time contract minister from summer 2021 through summer 2023. So I have a sort of an interim role here. And this was always the deal. I was hired on a 2-year basis. And because of my own personal family situation, I can't really extend it past that. 2 years is just the way that it goes, and it's no reflection on you. I feel really lucky to have gotten this 2-year ministry when I did, just as I was moving back to the USA. And I hope you feel lucky to have me. And if not, my condolences. I know there are those amongst us in the congregation who might be hoping that I can stay longer, and I thank you for your appreciation and sorry to let you down, but it's just not in the cards. And I also recognize there are 1 or 2 who can't wait for the next minister. Well, you know time goes quickly these days, so the good news is I won't be here that long. This too shall pass. Our January theme is living with intention. And true to that theme, I've been thinking about the intention here at UUCC. And what is the intention of my role here? The UUA, our denominational organization, publishes a handbook for interim ministers who are in between, who do play this interim role, called the Janus Handbook. And why they named it after me, I don't know, because I've never had an interim ministry before. But it identifies 5 tasks for ministers in my position. Heritage, remind the congregation of their past, which we've done a little today. Mission, help us define what we're all about. Leadership, look at how our leadership fulfills the mission here at the congregation. Connections, looking at our connections out in the world and with other congregations and with other organizations. And finally, future, getting ready for what's next. I see us doing some of all 5 of those tasks together in the next year and a half. In fact, we've done a lot of them over the 6 months. But there are specifically, I think there are a couple of things across those 5 areas that I believe we can accomplish together. It feels good to have something that we can do in this time of the global pandemic. First of all, some context about where we are. I think we're all a bit battered and bruised by coronavirus, if I can generalize. And part of my responsibility is working with the board to keep us all safe. And if you want to blame me for the closure of in-person services over the last month, feel free. But I think we're getting to a place where we're improving our multi-platform, our hybrid services, and we're getting to a place to really enjoy our congregational life. And so we're coming to a place where I think we can make the most of life together, even after this coronavirus finally goes away, especially after it it starts to drift away. I know. But I do want to, as we mentioned, we have this $20,000 grant, and I want to thank Pat, Paula, Aaron, Mark, and Kit for all their hard work, and for Bruce and Jenny for keeping so much hard work keeping us going through this time. And this grant is going to enable to do what we've already been doing really well, and keep doing it and keep improving on it. So stay tuned. There are some exciting things in the work, and in the works, and we've decided multi-platform and hybrid is the way to go. I think the internet is here to stay, folks. I was skeptical at first, but I think it's going to be a part of our lives. So no matter what happens on the pandemic front, we're going to be a congregation that values this in-person community, the local community, while also valuing the opportunity for virtual gatherings as well, and for doing both at the same time. Part of my role then, and it's a really privileged and lucky role, is to be there for this congregation as we begin to rediscover the joys of community in a new way. And I'm looking forward to this. I'm already looking forward to the choir, but I'm looking forward to so many things about this. It's been a long 2 years, and I think in this next year of 2022, maybe I'm being too optimistic, maybe I should knock on wood, but I think we're going to remember, bodily, viscerally remember just how important community is to us, whether we're joining in the same room or joining virtually. It's not going to be like it was before, not exactly. Much has changed, and there may be some grief that needs to happen there, and that's okay. But I think if we keep our hearts open, we will find reminders of just how good it is to be together in community. Not only reminders, not like we haven't felt it before in some ways. At the same time, part of my role in the congregation and with your leadership is getting ready for what's next. And this is difficult, as none of us really know what's next, do we? Who can predict anything with the kind of world we live in today? I will say this, though, and I've said this before, but it bears repeating. At a time when we are trying to discover kind of a new way of how to be a human being, trying to live better, a way more just and fair, a way in more right relationship with the earth, at a time when we so often can be so near to despair and so desperate for hope, the importance of a religious community that lives its inclusive and radical values out in the world has never been more important than it is right now. This is an incredible opportunity we have as members of a religious community to provide something really important to the world. We're going to need all hands on deck for this one, I think, though. A congregation is a collective enterprise. I don't know if it helps to get into specifics here. If I say our congregation desperately needs people to help with finances and fundraising or with the nominating committee, it sounds like nagging. What I want to get across to you is this congregation, no, let me be more grandiose, the world needs you to step up right now, or show up, in the words of Kenny Riley in the reading earlier. We need to show up for justice and peace and hope and the sustainable world we need to create. Now, what showing up looks like, you know, we're all different people. We all have different skills. We all present in different ways. And I can't tell you what your particular gift you have to offer this congregation or the world is. You need to discover that. I'm just saying, now's the time to bring it. Bring your own power. Bring your wonderful talents and personality to the table of community, and let's start changing the world. And if you don't yet know what your gifts are, feel free to ask what needs doing. Finances and fundraising and the nominating committee, and maybe some yard work. Now, I do want to say one brief word to longer time members before I close. I know you've been looking for help for a long time at this congregation, and I know you've put in untold hours making this congregation what it is. So I want to say one thing, which is when people do come and offer their gifts generously to this congregation, don't turn them away. Don't say, that's not the way we've always done it here, because these aren't the people we've always had. So these are new people, and they bring new gifts of spirit and purpose. Got it? Good. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 years or 20 years or even 1 year. I do know that if the minister after me, if you choose to employ another minister, will find a community that helps shared ministry and their ministry thrive. But more importantly than that, I think we are well positioned to be a locus for meaningful life in the Kingston area and beyond. By that I mean in the way we gather together virtually, locally, and some combination of the two, we make inspiration happen all the time. And we're going to do more of it than we ever have, I think. Important things like vital new ideas, new understandings, new commitments, important things come to life. Love takes shape. And this congregation is a love story. I asked Judith Chase, who has been involved in this congregation quite a long time, what advice she might give to a newcomer here, like me, and maybe like you. She said, and I'm paraphrasing, she said, first of all, I'd say welcome. So welcome from Judith. And second, have fun with this group of disparate and diverse freethinkers and make your own contribution. So thanks, Judith. This is a very distinctive and wonderful community of people we have here. Now it is time to make it your own. Let us all show up just as we are. Show up with what we have, and it will be enough. Amen. We're going to sing together hymn number 116, I'm on my way. Siblings, friends, we've been through a lot, and we're still going. Keep going. Keep going, even if you don't know where we're going, and none of us do completely. But keep going a little bit towards love. Bend the wheel a little bit towards justice. Find meaning and point yourself in that direction. Keep going. You've been through a lot, and you are on the way. Let us keep going together. Amen. Now we are going to extinguish our chalice as we do each week and send us forth into the week ahead. I invite you to read together our words of extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Thank you to everyone who's been a part of our service today. Diane, Liz, Catherine, Tom, Bruce, and everyone who's come today. Thank you for coming. Peace be with you. I invite you to stay after the service if you'd like to get to know one another in our breakout rooms. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. It's good to be together, and all the best to you. Peace be with us. Amen.